Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode here on the Strong by Design podcast. Coach Chris talking with you today. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for following our show and for listening all these years, for you longtime listeners. And thank you to you brand new listeners for finding the show and checking us out maybe for the first time. This will be a very enjoyable episode for you because I have handpicked some of the very best episodes that we've had over the last, about 2.5 years, the most downloaded episodes that we've had. And it's a wide array of topics. Obviously, the name of the show, Strong by Design, our mantra that we believe that you were created in God's image to have a strong body, mind, and spirit. So we cover a lot of territory. Again, those of you who have been listening to the show for many years, you're very familiar with us jumping around. We love talking about muscle and strength, but we also love talking about faith and God and your walk with Him and trying to develop that as a muscle, that spiritual muscle. But then, of course, we love to talk about kind of general health topics, holistic things, your nutrition, trending kind of topics, things that are in the news. And so, I mean, we kind of jump all around, and it's essential. You know, we don't want to be a one-dimensional podcast, certainly. So this is a true collection of our very best content, and I'm going to showcase some of the best moments from these 6 specific episodes over the last 2.5 years about. And, you know, I want to obviously set them up and connect them properly because there are themes associated with each one of these ones that I picked. So, you know, when you hear the word strong, what comes to mind? Well, I think for most of us, you think, number one, you think a muscular body, a strong man or woman, okay? And so that's physical strength. And that, again, very, very important. I love being strong. I love working out. I love doing weights. I love working with people, seeing other people push themselves. I love seeing my wife work hard, or I've been working my son out and him getting stronger now that he's in high school. And so that brings me great joy. But that's just one area of strength in our life. After 400 plus episodes on the Strong by Design podcast, I've come to realize much better as I've gotten older and doing the show for over 8 years that strength is very, very little to do with what your bench press is, even though I love the bench and it's some of my favorite stuff to talk about. I love talking about being strong and benching and all of that. But again, now my age, you know, being 50, there's a lot of other things that play into being strong in life. And so strength is how you spend your time, how you love your family, how you show up for other people, how you respond when life knocks you down, and it will. It's what you believe when things get difficult, and it's taking care of your body in other ways than just working out, obviously, what you're eating and going outside, getting sunlight and fresh air, and all the, you know, trying to limit the drinking and the smoking and all that stuff that's not good for it. So taking responsibility and having some accountability in those areas. And you only get the one body. So you got to treat it right. And what's great is even if you've mistreated your body for an extended period of time, your body is unbelievable. Your body and brain, they can recover if you just give them a chance. If you just start omitting a few things and adding in a few things that are helpful, it's amazing the turnaround you can have with your life and with your overall health. Now, so I want to set up the first episode that I want to have you listen to. It's one from way back, man. Episode 38. Episode 38. We had Meredith Shirkin, and Coach Brian spoke with her. And she talks about 1-minute workouts, and it's pretty awesome. It's crazy that this episode continues to thrive, and it's from our first season on the show. It continues to get downloads. I don't know if it was shared on some other platform or she sends traffic to it herself or something. But that episode continues to do really well, get thousands of downloads. So check it out. Meredith Shirk with Coach Brian Klepacki talking about the 1-minute workouts. And I think you'll really enjoy it.
So I came from the heavy lifting, the long cardio, to something now where I'm doing stuff in under 10 minutes. I'm done.
So it's almost like you're going backwards.
Yeah. And people would say, hey, you're going backwards. But, I say I'm going for efficiency.
Right.
I'm going for efficiency, and not everybody has that time. And so it really affected me in the way to find something that worked just as good as doing all of that. Now, granted, it's different. It's different. And I felt different. I was not as mobile. And I wasn't as, I would say, like life flexible. And that's kind of the biggest thing is like, I want to be able to bend down and play with my daughter and not feel like, my back's gonna be thrown out. I want to have the flexibility, and being able to do, shorter body weight workouts that aren't so stressful on my joints and my, just my body in general. It helps me to be more flexible in my life so I can do things that I want to do better. That's my goal now, is how can I stay fit and just keep doing what I love to do.
As a mom, explain a little bit about how your body has transformed from going from a high performing collegiate water polo surfer to now where you are. Like, obviously you just shared like you're down to 10-minute workouts, high efficient, but how has your body responded to that? And do you think it's working for you? And if it is working for you, will it work for other people?
Definitely. I'm not going to lie. If anybody tells you like, oh, nothing changes after you have a baby, that is a lie. That is a lie, because a lot of stuff changes. And I was in good shape when I had my daughter Sage. Like I worked out during pregnancy, but the fact of the matter is, when you have a 1-year-old, which she's 15 months now, you don't have time. You just don't have time to be doing those things. And so I found that doing, 10-minute, sub 10-minute workouts has been extremely efficient. It doesn't affect my time with her, and it still gives me an increased heart rate, muscle tone. I'm still in as good a shape as I was before I had her, and I'm not doing a quarter of as much stuff as I was doing before. And I definitely think it's applicable to anyone, because if you're intimidated about working out, or if you're overweight, the dead last thing you're going to do is get up and go sprint somewhere, or go to a gym and just decide that you're going to, go battle it out at rush hour in the gym for the, the bicep machine or whatever. It's just, or do some squats or get on the elliptical. It's overwhelming for people. So if you can just chunk it down and be consistent on a small level, you can grow. And if you feel like you want to do more, you can always do more, but you don't have to. You just don't have to.
Tell us why your clients and the people you've worked with over the years, why they've had such success following these types of workouts.
I think it just goes back to that consistency, but understanding that, this is a long-term transformation that you're going through. This is not something that's just going to, snap your fingers and yes, it's done. It really is a mindset game. And I think I tell this to my clients all the time. I said, the most powerful thing is in between your ears. And that's your brain. You have to nail that down first.
I had to think about that for a second. My nose.
What's in between your ears, right? You've got to understand that you have to tie your results. You have to tie your wants and your needs for transformation to something that's more powerful than you. And people say oh, why are you doing this? Or what are you doing this for? And I always say, it's great to do it because, I want to fit in my jeans, but there's something deeper there. There's something so much deeper that you say, I want to fit in my jeans because I want to feel more confident so that I can go on this trip with my husband and I can go on this walk and I can feel better. And all of a sudden it's this deeper feeling of self-confidence. And that's going to push you through the mental transformation way down the line when you don't want to do this anymore. When you feel like you don't have 10 minutes, but you're like, you know what? I'm going back to that mental mindset piece to why I started this in the first place.
That's so awesome. Because mental, people think it's just exercise. Oh, it's just working out. But it goes so much deeper than that.
The mental piece that's why people stop after 2 weeks, 3 weeks.
Right.
Because they didn't prepare themselves for the long game. And you have to, because this is a lifestyle change. You will get immediate results, no doubt. But we're not really, you and I aren't really worried about what you're going to do in a week. What are you going to do in a month, a year when you're not working with us anymore.
I'm playing devil's advocate here because I know a lot of people say, if I can't get an hour workout in at the gym, it's pointless. So I can't, it's a waste of time. I don't get a good workout in. I don't get a good sweat. Nothing happens. I don't lose weight, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
Kind of debunk that. And again, I'm playing devil's advocate.
No, I love it because
I hear it a lot.
It's movement.
They say, if
right?
I can't get to the gym, I'm not going to go because that's all I know. And that's the only thing that works.
I would say the first thing is that you've got a really big mental misconception and roadblock going on, because at the very beginning, if you're saying, I can't do this, and so I'm not going to, like, if it's not great, it's not worth it. There's, the mindset, like the mindset what
I'm pointing
piece.
To, but I'm tapping my head, my brain.
The brain.
It's a mental mindset.
It's a mental thing. It's like you would say, oh, I'm not going to go, so it's not worth it. Or I'm late. If you were late to work, would you just not go? I mean, probably not. You'd probably still go to work, right?
Yeah, you would get fired.
Yeah, exactly. You're like, oh, I'm late, so I'm just not going to go. Like, no, you go because you feel compelled to go, and you will get movement. And you know what? If you don't get a great workout in, you don't get a great workout in. You're still getting movement, and you're training yourself to be consistent. That's the most important thing. And when you have consistency and you have that motivation is what drives you in the beginning. I'm so motivated for results. I'm so motivated. Oh, look, I'm losing weight. I'm so motivated. My jeans are fitting better. When motivation wanes, your habits take over. Mm-hmm. You need to build the habit structure during that motivation phase.
Right.
And then you won't need to be like, oh, I'm going to go lose 20 pounds. You're like, no, this is my lifestyle and I feel good when I do it. So it's a habit and I'm just going to continue to do it, like brushing your teeth.
I told you you would like that one. And there's hope, right? There's hope that you will make time for your workouts, especially if they're that short and sweet. You can get a lot done in very little bit of time, depending on how you're doing it. It's quality over quantity, right? So we know that your body and life is your vehicle, and you got to treat your vehicle right if you want to get that longevity out of it. You got to take care of it. Fitness isn't the only thing you need to be focused on, but it certainly sets you up for being strong in other areas of your life. If you're not taking care of your own body, it's going to be really hard to do well and level up in other areas and to function at a high level in other areas if you're not taking care of your health and your fitness there. So once your body is moving in that right direction, the next question maybe, or should be, what are you moving towards? What is your purpose in life? What was your purpose with this healthy, rejuvenated body? What is your purpose? What are you here to do? What's your mission, right? And so I want you to kind of think about that as we get into this next clip with Coach Jared Haley, who has been a host on the podcast for several years now. Jared's awesome. He's a great friend and family man, father of 4 children, and he knows quite a lot about this topic. And it's all about time and setting yourself up for how you spend that time, and really dialing in what your purpose in life is. And I think you'll really, really enjoy this episode with Jared. Again, it's done extraordinarily well over the last few years. So people obviously are tuning in. I think you need to hear this from Jared. Enjoy.
And what does it look like for us to manage our time in a biblical way? If we were to sit down with Jesus and say, Lord, I want to be the best that I can be. I want to utilize my time well. What would that look like? And what I want to clarify right off the get-go, I'm not talking about time management in the sense of showing up on time. It was kind of funny. I had my men's small group Bible study this morning, and it starts at 6:30, and I showed up at 6:40. It was 6:49, and I'm 29 minutes late, right? And I tell them, hey, I'm sorry, guys, I got to leave a little early. I'm filming this podcast this morning. And they're like, that's awesome, not a problem. Whatever you got to do. And they said, by the way, what are you talking about? Right? And I said, I'm talking about biblical time management. And all of them just the whole room erupted in laughing, right? Because here I am getting ready to talk about time management, and I'm showing up late. But what I want to clarify is that time management, the thing that I'm talking about today, I'm not talking about do I show up on time or not, right? I think that there's a lot of things that play into that with temperament and personality and things along those lines, where some people, if you're not 15 minutes early, then you're not on time. And then you have other people that are, in other cultures even, where time is fluid. And so that's not what I'm trying to address today. And maybe a better understanding of what I'm trying to do is, how do I make the most of my time that God has given me, right? Think about the parable of the sowers, right, where you have different people and they've been given different talents. I'm sorry, not the parable of the sowers, it's the parable of the talents, where they've given different talents, and what are we doing with the talents that God has given us? Am I making the most out of the time that I have been given? Because we live in a world that is pulling us in 1,000 different directions, right? We have work, we have family, we have sports, especially if you have kids in sports, you have church and church activities, and then all the other extracurriculars that fill our lives, even grocery shopping and making meals and just adulting, right? We're being pulled in all of these different directions. And am I making the most of my time? Am I surrendering my time to Jesus and saying, Lord, what does it look like for you to manage my time as opposed to me managing my time, and how can I be more intentional with that? There's a really good quote from a book called The Bullet Journal Method by a man named Ryder Carroll, and he says, do you ever feel like you don't have enough time because you're working on a lot of things, yet things are not working out most of the time? It feels like you're working and you're doing stuff all the time, and you're trying to fill your life with so much stuff, and yet you're so spread out that you find yourself unable to actually accomplish anything. Your time is overwhelmed with tasks. Later on in his book, he says this: there is only one thing we can be 100% sure of, and that is our time is limited. And so I want to ask you the question, if you're listening to this today, I want to ask the question, how are you making the most of the time God has given you? Have you surrendered your time to God and said, hey, how can I make the best use of my time? How can I be kingdom driven? How can I be Jesus kingdom driven and not Jared kingdom driven in the time that I've been given? Because I recognize that it's limited. I'm only here for a short time. And I think that the way that we do that is we have to be intentional with our time. We have to understand the why behind what we are doing. If we don't understand the why, then the what becomes confusion. It becomes cloudy. We just start filling our life up with whatever we want to fill our life up with, and there's no clear direction or barometer that's saying this is why I'm doing what I'm doing. And so I want to encourage you to actually surrender that to the Lord as well. God, what is my purpose? We understand that our greater purpose is to bring God glory no matter what we're doing. We understand that our greater purpose is, hey, I want to be a kingdom builder. I want to fulfill the Great Commission of what it means to go and share the gospel with the world. But what's the next deeper layer of that? What is it that God has specifically gifted you to do in the kingdom? What is it specifically that God is asking you to do in this moment? And I don't think for 97% of us, it's not, hey, uproot your family and move to Africa. I think that you are where you are, that God has placed you where you are intentionally. That He has placed you where you are in your workplace, He has placed you where you are in your neighborhood in order to be a light in the darkness. And as we surrender our time, the Holy Spirit can then begin to speak into what does it look like for you to use your time to share the gospel with your neighbors? How can you do that in an effective way? What does it look like in your home to utilize that as opportunities, especially if you have kids, to disciple your children well, to teach them the ways of what it means to follow God, to make them kingdom builders themselves? You got to understand your why. You got to understand your purpose in order for all of that stuff to begin to fall into place.
All right, so now I have you thinking about how you're spending your time to achieve your purpose and your mission in life, we're going to take that a step further into how your purpose affects your legacy in life. And Jared hosted an episode it might be 3 years ago now. I think it was episode 329. Yes, it was a while back, with guest Jody Maberry. And the name of the episode is why I wrote a letter to my kids every day. And it was very, very cool conversation that he had with Jody. And it gets into, obviously, your legacy. So if you're living out your purpose, how is that impacting other people? Because ultimately, we're here, hopefully, with a kind of a service-oriented mindset, or having a family, or being in community with others, right? How our lives can positively, hopefully, impact other people's lives. That's your legacy in life. And I think we're at our best when we are in service of others. I know I am, when I'm less focused on me and more focused on how I can help other people. And what we do every day becomes what we are remembered for. And our greatest accomplishments typically are not necessarily in our professional life, but in our personal life. Our family life. A great example would be Larry Fitzgerald, one of the best receivers in the history of the NFL, just got inducted into the Hall of Fame. He'll always be remembered for being, obviously, one of the greatest receivers, the greatest receiver in Cardinals history, and one of the greatest receivers of all time. But what's fascinating about him is that he's an extraordinary man. He was the co-winner of the Walter Payton Award with actually my favorite football player, Eli Manning. They won it in the same year. But I've heard his children talk about him, and yes, they obviously acknowledge it. He's a phenomenal football player, but their memory of him is all about all the other moments that they've shared together and how they see him and what his legacy is for them. And it's awesome. It's a tearjerk for sure, but he is an extraordinary man, a phenomenal football player, but more than that. And that's what I'm talking about. That's legacy, right? So what are you going to be remembered for with the people who knew you best? And that's what you need to listen to here with Jared hosting and guest Jody Maberry.
I've been helping with other people's podcasts for a while now, which really it just came because I had the Park Leader Show and then came Creating Disney Magic. And when you do something like that for a high profile person like Lee Cockrell, and you do really well, people will start reaching out to you saying, can you do for me what you did for Lee? So I just started hosting shows and producing shows, and probably the most I've had at one time, I think I had 9 or 10 shows that I was hosting at one time. And now it's probably 6 or 7. I have a new show, by the way, that since you saw me speak, I came out with a new show. My son went away to college, and I was just used to being around him every day and being able to give him advice and counsel. And I thought, well, gosh, how am I going to be a daily influence in his life now that he's gone? And I thought, well, I'll just do what I do. So I started a daily podcast just for my son, but I put it out there on all the public channels and really only cared if he listened to it. But what's been surprising is how many downloads it gets, how many people actually listen to a show intended just for my son. And that also means I have to be careful not to give away, any personal stories that would embarrass him. But yeah, it has been really, that has been a fun project. I'd never done a daily show before, nor had I ever done a show with an intended audience of one. So
what are you doing in that show? Are you just talking about, hey, today I went to the grocery store and bought some milk. And is it just kind of keeping him up to date with life at home while he's away?
Every day is a lesson about something, because
Okay.
I'm not around to influence him. So I wanted to be able to just give him a message of encouragement or think about this. And then I also realized that it's probably, it's just natural that, oh, there goes my dad again talking about it. So half of them are from me and half are from other people. So like Lee Cockrell has done it a lot because he's known August since August was a little kid. So it's half are from me, half are from other people. And it's just a lesson, just a message of encouragement. Or
what's today's lesson?
Today's lesson is about how to be recommendable.
Okay.
Yeah. And then yesterday's lesson, as an example of some things that happen, is Ray Edwards. He's got a podcast, The Ray Edwards Show. Ray Edwards was recited the Rudyard Kipling poem, If. So that was yesterday's lesson. So sometimes it's things like that. And sometimes it's, some are really short. I've never had one longer than 5 minutes. They're usually give or take about 2 minutes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Those are becoming a lot more popular, though. The shorter little snippets for people just to get and kind of be able to continue to move on with, a thought for the day or a lesson for the day.
Yeah,
I think that's good.
I think so. And I did it just because I knew, if I ramble on, he's not going to listen. So I better keep it short. Yeah. So that's the only.
Is he listening? Do you know if he's listening?
He says that he is. I have to take his word for it, but I do. No, only once did he reach out to me after one of the episodes. Cause he's big into board games. We're a big board game playing family.
Mm-hmm.
And
we are too.
And the founder of is it Stonemaier Games? Yeah, Stonemaier. Sure. So they did Wingspan and Scythe and a few others. But he did a message for August.
We're going to have a conversation about board games because you just said two that I've never heard of before.
Those
are good games, I'm guessing?
Yeah, good games.
Okay.
Good games, yeah. Okay. So he did a message for him, and then August couldn't believe it. He's like, oh my goodness, I didn't know who that was, but I looked him up. Holy cow. So
yeah, that's cool.
That's the only one I've heard from. But there's been other guests that it's been pretty cool. Yeah. A lot of Disney people, because of my Disney connections, have given them messages.
Cool, though. That's great. One of the other things that I wanted to make sure that we touched on is you mentioned to me that another way that you intentionally invested in your own children was writing letters to them. Could you tell me a little bit about what is that? What kind of letters are you writing? How often are you writing them? And what drove you to want to do that in the first place?
I'll start with your last question first and build on that.
Okay. So whatever order, you take it away.
So what started that is the day my son was born, that I had all these feelings and excitement and had no idea of what to do with it. And I had a blank journal. And so I wrote him a letter in that journal. And then I did it the next day and the next day. And it has gone on for 18 plus years every day. So I wrote to my son every day until my daughter was born, and I thought, gosh, I don't want to keep two of these going. So I started writing to both of them every day. And now that my son is out of the house, then I'd write just to my daughter now. But I don't even know if they know I do it or if they care that I do it. But every day for 18 years, I've written to them. And it's a sense of what goes on around here daily, which seems boring until, let's say now, my kids are in their 40s and they can read what it was like growing up in our house, or they read of when their dad was a park ranger and what he did to end up getting promoted and why he ended up to leave his dream job of being a park ranger. And they read about moving across state, and it's full of family stories. It's full of, because every day has been documented. It'll have stories about me and their mother and their grandparents and just everything. Like, if you're going to write every day, there are some days nothing happened worth writing about. So what do? You bring up something from the past and you write about it. Or another thing, a tactic that I have done, if I have nothing to write about that day, I'll get an old picture and put it in the journal and then write about the story of whatever's going on in that picture. And it's just been, it's really interesting. I hope it will be a gift they treasure someday.
Sure.
And at the same time, you start to look at life a little different, that if you have to document everything you've done and write about it and tell your kids about it, and then maybe that someday their kids are going to see it, I don't know, you behave a little better, probably. When given two options, you choose the one that's the better story because, I get to write about that to my kid. So I mean, even like that to them, Lee Cockrell has always been around and they know they can call him and text him and whatnot. I mean, he's bigger to them than Mickey Mouse. And so they get to read the story someday of how Lee and I met and how that built. And not just me reflecting back on it. They see every day as things progressed over the years. So I hope it's something they enjoy someday. It's a good exercise for me as a father to do. And sometimes I write about now, and then sometimes I just say, okay, my daughter as an adult with kids or as an adult who just got married is going to read this. And so I'll do a note to her, just personal about, hey, which is a interesting exercise when your daughter is 4. My daughter's 16, but let's say your daughter's 4 and you're writing to her marriage advice, but she's only 4, but when she reads it, she's going to be 25, whatever. So at the moment, I have no plan of how or when to start passing these on to them, but I have picked a date. I don't know if I'll stick to this, but I have decided the day after my daughter graduates from high school will be the last day I do it. So we'll see if I stick to that. But
then you'll just start another podcast anyway, right?
Yeah, because I'll have more time. So why not? Yeah. But what if I stop after she graduates? I mean, that'll be more than 20 years I've written to them every day. So what else will I have to tell them at that point? I think I'll be dry.
Yeah, I bet you, I can only imagine that your grandkids at some point are going to love those stories. I mean, I know personally, I love hearing stuff about my parents when they were kids, the things because, you didn't know them as children, and so being able to get an insight into how they were, I just think that's going to be an incredible gift, not only to your kids, but to your grandkids.
Yeah, I hope so. But here's the danger of it is let's say my kids or even my grandkids, and I tell them a story about the blizzard of 2018 and how we had to dig ourselves out and all that. And then they read the daily letter from when that actually happened. And they're like, what are you talking about? There was 2 inches of snow. So
right.
I put myself at risk.
Accountable.
Yeah. I put myself at risk because they will have the actual account and not my story.
Yep. I knew you'd like that part. So now that I've filled your brain with, taking care of your body, obviously, and living your purpose, and what is your legacy going to be? What are you going to be remembered for? Now I want to go 100% into your walk with God, your faith, and whether that's existent, non-existent, or somewhere in between. This conversation kind of goes all around this topic of living in gratitude. And with kind of Thanksgiving Day being kind of the focus and what that day represents for our country, being with family, being with friends, sharing a meal, and just really enjoying that time, that togetherness, and what a joy and what a blessing it is when I think back to all of the years of spending Thanksgiving with my family and having that great big meal that leaves you uncomfortable for 3 hours, but watching football, or back when I was in high school winning a football championship on Thanksgiving Day, and just all those great moments. I mean, that's what makes life so enjoyable and so full and so fantastic. And I think it's really rooted in, for me, faith in God, faith in others, and seeing the blessings in real time, and being grateful for them. And when you're in a state of gratitude, life is just so much better than the alternative. So check out this episode with me and Jared. I know I've kind of been a little bit long-winded on this, but talking about gratitude is fun, and it opens up your eyes, and it kind of sometimes changes your perspective in a good way on things. So check this out. It's episode 386 with yours truly and Jared Haley.
We get caught up in the if onlys. If only I had X, Y, Z, then I would be happy. And I'm grateful for Thanksgiving, where it brings me to a place to go, hold up a second, let me stop and pause and go, you know what? There's a lot of really great things that God has given me that I can be thankful for. And, my kids are all healthy. We have food to eat, we have a place to sleep at night. I have a job to go to, and just the thing that God is doing with me or with Cristiano or with our kids, the way that he's teaching us, the things he's leading us to. There's just so many things that, Paul says to be content in all circumstances, right? Mm-hmm. Whether things are good or things are bad, learning to be content and thankful and have that spirit of gratitude about us. And I just think that it does such good things for my heart and my soul, to be walking around with gratitude as opposed to walking around with pessimism. Yeah. I brought this scripture up to you earlier, mm-hmm. as we were talking about this, and it's from 1 Thessalonians 5:18, and everything give thanks, for this is God's will for you in Christ Jesus. Right? Like, this is God. We always talk about what's God's will for your life. His will is for you to stop and be thankful. And we have a whole day and a whole holiday kind of moment where we get to do that.
Yeah. We get so caught up in our material goods, and what we have, what we don't have, what we think we need, what we want.
And equating that to our identity and value.
Right, and to our joy and to our contentment. And it's not a bad thing to want things for yourself. I mean, sure. I want to do projects for our home because, I'm excited about getting new windows installed. I'm excited about all new gutters. Yeah. I'm excited about removing this tree in the backyard. All these things cost a lot of money. And I know I'll like our home even more when we get there. And I can do some of the landscaping projects that I want, but I can't do that until I got the new gutters. But I'm not doing the gutters until the windows get installed. So everything has a timetable, but it doesn't mean that I can't be happy now.
Right.
And ultimately, when I reflect on a day like Thanksgiving, or I'm trying to live in gratitude every day of my life, certainly in prayer and stuff. And you've caught me many times in my office on my knees, just praying for the day, praying over our team, praying over my family, those things. What am I praying about? I'm praying for people. I'm praying for my health, my wife's health, my children's health, my coworkers' health, my family's, my brother, my stepdad. Ultimately, that's what matters, right? There's nobody that's in their deathbed who's saying, thank God I had that car back when I was 38 years old. That made me so happy. They're not thinking that's the furthest thing from their mind. They're thinking about the people they're surrounded by, or the people they wish they were surrounded by in that moment. And that's where I go, who can I be with today that's going to bring me that joy. And if I can't be with my mom, I can at least be with my brother, and we can talk about my mom on Thanksgiving and all the wonderful memories that we have of her and my brother, my brother Dave, who passed away.
My wife, Christiana, gave me a good truth bomb the other day as we were talking about, wanting things. And it's funny that we always want things, but we don't want the responsibility that comes with it.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Right.
So when you're talking about a house, right? Like, man, if only I had, like, you can go on Zillow and look at these houses and they're all done upright, right, to make you want to buy them. And you think, oh, if we lived there, things would be better.
Oh, yeah.
But then all of a sudden you don't realize all of the things that come with it, or a car, you got to get tires, you got to get brakes, you got to maintain it. There's responsibility that comes with that thing. And I think that a lot of times we want all of the good things that come from something without the responsibility that comes from something. And to be able to recognize that and be like, okay, because even our house now, right? Like, there's things that need to be fixed. We've already had to replace the AC. We've already had to replace the hot water heater. The guy who remodeled it before us sprayed everything with like this latex paint, like all the trim and stuff, and it's all peeling off. And so now we have to go figure out, do we just pull off all the baseboards and put on new ones? Right. Do we try to like sand them off? Like, there's just so much work involved. Even our staircase, like our doors, everything, like there's paint peeling everywhere. And it's like, it looks like a mess. And we're like, well, if we could just sell this place and get a new place, then it would be better. And it's like, no, like there's going to be responsibilities with no matter what you get, you know?
Oftentimes when things are really good, we do a lousy job of praising and thanking God for all the blessings, all the goodness, all the things that He's provided. And we end up just turning to Him when we're at our low points, when we're in our those tough times, those difficulties, when we really need to lean on Him. And He's going to be there, regardless. But
as a good dad is,
as a good dad is, but we need to be able to praise Him in both the low moments and the good ones.
And you know that my wife's been struggling with like daily migraine stuff.
Yes, I know.
And we've been praying, God heal her, God touch her, help us to figure out like what's going on.
Right. Right. Get her in the right office with somebody who's going to get this figured out.
And the Holy Spirit, like probably about 3 weeks ago, maybe spoke to me and just said, will you praise me even in her suffering? And can she praise me in her suffering? And I was like, well, I'm not going to tell her that. Like, you're going to have to tell her yourself. Right. Sorry, babe, that your head hurts, but you should probably just praise Jesus, But he did. And he's brought her to that space too, where she's like, you know what? This sucks and I hate it, but God is good. And for us to be able to still trust God and be thankful for what He's done for us in our lives, even though we're going through this low point. And really, it does something to our ability to push forward and to have hope and to know that we're depending on something that's bigger than our situation.
Yeah. Hope you enjoyed that wonderful episode with Jared and I. And I want to take you to another one that I knew it was going to do really well. I didn't know how well it was going to do, but I knew that these guests, Robert and Charlotte Snow, were just different. Married couple, and they were talking about marriage and how to master your marriage, but all of the things that go into a healthy marriage and why it's such a vital part of our lives and really vital to the success of our country. And I think in large part why we've seen such a mess of our country over the last, I don't know, I've just arbitrarily thrown out 50 years, but ever since the family unit has been kind of say under attack, or where divorce became more of an option, almost like people were rewarded financially for divorce, and that becoming more of a regular thing. If you go back 50, 60 years, the divorce rate was far lower than it is today, whereas more than half of the marriages today end in divorce. Was not the case back then. And when you have a husband and a wife that are together, that two become one, and raising a family together, it just creates children who are, I think, more well-rounded, who are in a better headspace, and I think do a better job of adjusting to life's challenges. Let's leave it at that. But you have to hear this episode about relationships and specifically about marriage, which is the most important union, the most important relationship that you will ever have in your life is with your spouse. I need to remember that myself sometimes. But check out this episode 351, where I think Jared and I hosted this one together. I wanted him in on this as a father of four, has a great marriage, and he's just just a great conversation for the four of us, and you will no doubt get something out of this. Robert and Charla Snow, check it out.
We want healthy marriages, and that's just something that you don't see as much these days. And so it's something that takes work, but at the same time, I feel like we should get to that place where, yes, we're still learning and we're growing, but man, we really love to be married, and it's no longer, you know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It is a life work. It's not like I just figured the skill out and we're good. Now we're fine. Mm-hmm. To me, it's the metaphor of the Bible and the refiner's fire. You know, marriage to us is the refinement process of how we become better people, because our spouse is that mirror. They mirror back to us all of our immaturities, all those areas where we still need to grow up. And just like melting down gold or silver and the dross, the impurities rise up to the surface in our marriage, all of our junk rises to the surface, and we can learn from that. We can scrape it away and we can be molded into something better, or we cannot. And I just think that honestly, marriage is this divine institution for all of us to become better people if we allow it to do so, if we allow it to help us to refine those parts of us that are still rough.
Yeah, that's well said. Iron sharpens iron in friendship and in marriage, right?
Marriage is this amazing masterclass in growing up personally.
Yeah.
It grows you as a person. If you'll let it grow you, it will grow you up into the person that you could be and should be and maybe can be for your kids. And so, Jared, I was thinking about that, the you do you, right? That isn't, that it feels right. And part of our goal and part of our mission really is, can we kind of cut down this number of single parents? Single parent households are a really bad statistic in general. Kids raised in single parent households have a higher likelihood of drug abuse, higher likelihood of early sex and early pregnancy, higher likelihood of jail time, less likely to graduate high school. So the needing the two parents in the home is so super important. And there's another quote by a gal, and I wish I remember what it was, but she just said, we're not really designed to do this. If the husband can fulfill a role where he supports and uplifts and strengthens the mom, then the mom can give all of her energy, all of her feminine energy, into raising and nurturing the children. But if the mom has to do both, then she has to separate away some of that feminine nurturing energy and then take on both those roles. And thus the children in the end are really the ones who suffer in that situation, because mom lacks the support necessary to be able to do that.
Mm-hmm. I heard a quote. I don't remember who said it, but had something along the lines of, we didn't realize when we were growing up, we were actually watching our parents grow up.
Absolutely.
I thought, so we have 4 kids. I know you guys have 4 kids. Our oldest is 12, and we feel that, we feel that every day. Like we've learned a lot, but we're still figuring out how to sort out those things and how those live out practically on a day-to-day basis. Yeah. And so it's funny to think about how old I am now, and thinking about like when I was our son's age, like my parents were old. I thought they were old and they had things figured out, and to go back in time and think they were probably still figuring stuff out as well.
Absolutely. We're figuring it out.
Yeah, and the ability to be able to be humble that way. I've talked to my kids, even my 29-year-old, who's our oldest now. I'm like, dude, I'm still figuring it out. Like, I hope you didn't come to me thinking I had this thing wired. Like, and I apologize for the way that all the times that I was an idiot when I raised you, because I'm, and, double down. I didn't really have a father influence, right? So I would often tell him, I'm just trying to figure out how to be a father. I just want to love you. I want to love you unconditionally as much as I can, because maybe that's the thing that was lacking in my life. But yeah, if you'll let marriage grow you up and let you grow each other up. And, there's a great quote. It's really a leadership quote, but I think it works well in marriage as well. The difference between a great partner in a relationship and a good partner is the great partner realizes that he still has more to learn.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, if you're talking about a shared future, what does that look like? What does it look like for you to have a shared future? And what does it look like to put together a marriage vision statement?
That happens to be Robert's favorite subject.
Yeah, it might be, but think about it from a business perspective. I mean, you wouldn't try to run a business without setting goals. And you wouldn't, and what is the first thing they always tell us, like building a business, we want our vision statement and our mission statement and all these types of things, right? And then every time you have a decision to make, you hold that decision up against your vision and mission statement. Does this match our vision? Does this match our mission? Right? So, and successful companies do this all day long. And I know we get some grief online about this, like, oh, well, it's not a business. If it's another business meeting, I'm out. Like, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about sitting down and saying, how do you want to raise your children? What do we want to focus on this year? Do we feel like they need more spirituality in their lives? Do we feel like they need more or less sports in their lives? Do we feel like maybe we need more of a presence with me being dad, right? Do my children need more dad in their lives this year moving forward, right? Do they need more mom? Do we feel like we're not being nurtured? Is one of them maybe have some sort of overriding concern, like maybe one of your children has some depression or anxiety issues, and we're going to need to shift the vision statement for our marriage to support one aspect or the other, right? And then, and by doing this, when both of you are there and you craft this vision statement, and then align values, which is another topic. But when we craft the vision statement about how we want things to go in our relationship, it becomes much easier. The rest of the decisions are almost made. Much the way they use that example for business, right? We'll hold up this decision like, hey, we want to go to Cabo and we're going to leave child number 2 at home. Well, child number 2 has anxiety and depression, and that doesn't meet our mission and vision statement for bringing everybody together and creating a supporting environment. So maybe Cabo decision is off the table for next year. Yeah. Right? Does that make sense? So you're starting to apply each of those things. And do we want to be more spiritual? Do we want to be more physical? Right? Like, what is the vision? Happy, healthy, strong. Like, okay, that would be a great vision statement for our relationship. What does that mean? Well, that means that we're going to then create some goals and some values around that. So we want to be happy, healthy, and strong. How can we be more healthy? Well, we're going to try eating better. We're going to get up at 6:30 and work out. Like, so everything filters down from this creating this vision statement. And when you do, the only thing you're doing is you're spending on opportunity, crafting what your world looks like together with your partner, which is the thing you did when you first got together and you left that. If we haven't revisited that, we have a 32-year-old vision statement. And what's our 32-year-old vision statement sound like when we're first married?
Nothing like
I
this
think we
today.
want to get naked more, because now we got married, right? I mean, what is it when you're like, and we want to go to the movies and I like popcorn, like, and that's great. And like, we want to do an adventure together. Like, now that you have kids, things change. So that's why revisiting your values, revisiting your vision statement annually is so important, because things change. Your relationships change.
We are huge proponents of rituals. We call them rituals. We call them that instead of habits, just because to us, they're things that are in our relationship that are incredibly sacred, that other things don't get to take priority over. And we create rituals around our values set. And so every year, what we do is we go on first week of January. Every year. This is a non-negotiable. It's our favorite thing to do. It's not like it's a job. It's actually something we love to do. And we get away up in the mountains. We stay in a cabin. We stay in a resort. We stay somewhere where we're snowed in, no kids, no distractions, no phones. And we spend the weekend talking about our future. We sit down and the most important question we ask each other this whole weekend, for the first part of it's like, let's celebrate last year and let's talk about our wins from last year and let's feel, really good. And let's talk about some of the things we learned from last year. But then we shift into what's important to us now. What's important to us in the context of, and then there's a blank line. And we have in that blank line, we can put our marriage or our family or our children, the things that really matter. And then we make a list. What's important to us in the context? Let's say it's our relationship. What's important to us in the context of our relationship? What else? What else? What else? What else? And we make a list of about 50 things. And then I look at his list and he looks at my list, and we compare our lists and we go, okay, now rank these things. What's most important to us? If we were to rank these in the top 10 for each of us, what are they? And then we look at our 2 lists of top 10 things and go, okay, now how do we build a life around these values that are so important to us? Because values is what drives us. That's what motivates us. That's what gets us up in the morning. And that's how we judge our effort in life and whether we're doing a good job or we're not, and we're on track or we're not. And so how can we now build rituals around these values? And when we do that and we plot those things and we create a course and we put these things onto our calendar, our marriage is so rock solid, as long as we're not destroying it with terrible conflict. Like, our marriage is so rock solid because our values are aligned and our mission is aligned. And now we have rituals that are the daily touch points for these big picture ideas that we've created.
Yeah. The other piece that I'd love to hear from you guys a bit as well is, how are you incorporating your faith and your spirituality and bringing Jesus into the equation, as whether it's in the process of creating your value systems or what your plan is for the year or your vision statement, and how are you bringing God into that aspect of your marriage?
Personally or in the clients that we work with, or both?
With you guys.
With us personally.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that really, it goes back to our annual retreat that we do by ourselves every year. When we sit down and we talk about what's important to us. When I said what's important to us in the context of blank, and we get to fill in that blank, we use multiple contexts of life. So we talk about, first, we go through our relationship. Then we go fill in the blank with family. Then we fill in the blank with spirituality. So that is where we sit down and we really look at what is important to us in terms of our spirituality. And we start to make a list. What's important to us? What else is important to us? What else is important to us? Okay, now let's line up our lists, and let's go ahead and come up with, again, some strategies and tactics for how. Does this mean that we're praying together more? Does this mean we're reading scripture together more? What does this really look like on a day-to-day basis? And how do we create these rituals around this? So I think it's looking at, and Robert, you can add to that, but I think it's taking each area of life and breaking it down and lining up our values and creating those rituals that are it's the code that we live by on a daily basis, and how we're showing up for each other and for those around us.
Yeah. And I think it's about tweaking your vision statement, right? Like, how does it start, right? We want a gospel-centered home where people will feel and know Christ-like love when they come in. Right. So if that's part of our vision statement, then those are the things that drive the decisions that we make. Like, what do we allow in the home? What types of things are here? What type of, events are we going to hold? How are we going to show up for our kids? How are we going to provide service? Right. For me, service is a big thing. Like, we want to serve our community. We want to serve others, because that is the example, our ultimate example from the Savior. Right. What did he do? He just served. Right. And if I can just serve and give, and then, bring some Christ-like love to the equation.
Yeah. You can't go wrong with that, right?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Charla.
I just think if we can, the more we as couples sit down and have the conversation, instead of like, did you pay the water bill and did you take out the trash? If we can sit down and have deep conversations, intimate conversations where we talk about life, these values. To us, I think the values work is probably the thing that's up-leveled our relationship more than anything else. When we discovered that, and we were on the same page, 99% of the time, we're like, we really don't even have that much conflict anymore, because we just live according to our values, and life changes everyone. Like, if you had asked us that question about bringing Jesus into our home, 10 years ago, it would have been a completely different answer, because life changes us. It changes everyone. We've been through really hard things in the last 10 years, and it's shifted our perspective. It's shifted what's important to us. So that's why we have to keep reevaluating what is important, because hard times come, your priorities change.
And last but not least, I want to highlight a very special episode, one that I was able to host and record with someone, a very special person, somebody that became a fan of our show and then ended up being a guest and a host of our show for a time, Jo Miller. And she's also referred to as Jo Animal Miller. And Jo is a fascinating woman who's had quite a life. a remarkable story of perseverance and resilience. And I love ending on this particular theme, to go from having a strong relationship and a strong marriage to being somebody that's resilient in life. What an amazing quality to have. I mean, think of the character of Rocky. And if you don't think of him and think of, that's a tough guy, man. That's a guy who was resilient in life, who was beat down and maybe dealt a bad hand, and things weren't looking all that great for him, as an older guy. And he was able to turn things around because of his grit and his resilience. And that's what I think of when I think of Joe. And you'll have to go back and listen to the full episode with Joe. I know you'll enjoy it. The name of that episode is Believe Big, Love Heals, episode 385. Joe will tell you about her shocking discovery when she was pregnant, and finding light in the midst of her darkness, and how to build self-love and self-compassion into your life. She has a wonderful husband, Matt, who's also on the episode, and how their relationship really obviously was vital to her overcoming her challenges in life. And she talks about how love can truly heal your wounds faster. And it's a remarkable story. So episode 385 with Joe Miller, Believe Big, Love Heals.
I prayed every day to not need a C-section, but ultimately what's best for the baby, I will do. But after 33 hours, they said, she's stuck. We can see her head, but she's stuck in your pelvis. You need this emergency surgery. So Matt and I, we prayed and then released it to God. We went into surgery. Next thing you know, she's in my arms. Beautiful baby. She looked like she came out wearing makeup, just stunning. And the doctors and nurses were fawning all over her. Then they wheeled me away. I was so out of it. I didn't know what happened after that. And then fast forward, we're in the mother and baby unit, just enjoying our miracle baby girl. And while in the mother and baby unit, a doctor comes in and says, hey, we're really surprised by this, but when we were delivering your baby, we found cancer. And I was like, what? I was shocked. And then they said, we did surgery to remove it, but you're going to need treatments. And a lot of people who found out later on felt really heartbroken for us that this is supposed to be the happiest time of your life. You have this miracle baby, enjoy your newborn, but ultimately what seemed like darkness was actually God's mercy and light shining through. There was a divine purpose in the timing and the diagnosis and everything. And within a couple weeks, we started intense integrative treatments, and by God's grace, we were able to kind of go in this healing cocoon. And that's where I said I needed to step away, because I felt like I needed to give 1,000% in my healing of my mind, body, and soul. And people considered me the healthiest person they had ever known. So we were all surprised. But then as I started working with the Avengers of holistic healing, we discovered together there were a lot of holes and there was a lot of healing that was needed. And I believe that God answered our prayer. You want more love in your life? I'm going to send it with a baby. But not only did we get more love by giving love to a baby, but then the diagnosis, I learned that Matt loved me even more than I could even think possible. And then loving a baby was so healing for cancer. And she also fostered a lot of other healing. One of my favorite verses that I say aloud every day, it's my declaration, Jeremiah 30, verse 17. He says, I will restore you to health and heal all your wounds. And at first I thought restoring to health is cancer-free. But then what's all the wounds? And I realized there were a lot of wounds, a lot of trauma that I still needed to address, a lot of things to heal. And then I felt really motivated as a new mom to be an example to my daughter of strong faith and love. And in order for her to learn the things that I prayed for her to have, the two of us needed to exhibit that. And I believe that the diagnosis allowed for more growth that I've had in the last 2.5 years than the 40 years prior combined.
Wow. You said something earlier. We talked about self-love, and you've struggled with that, but you've overcome it, or at least you're in the process of still overcoming that. Someone listening right now, I'm certain, is struggling with it as well. What are some things that some action steps maybe you could give them to start working on that?
That's such a great question. I feel like the biggest thing for me was journaling, and then I talked with a great team of therapists, like I mentioned, Megan Van Zell, she's brilliant, and I would journal my feelings, and I would also separately write a list of things that I enjoyed. There were so many times where I knew that I loved health and fitness, but there was a lot of other things in my life where I didn't know what truly brought me joy and fulfillment. And I would write it down. I would think about, what are the little things that lift my spirit? What makes me just smile and make my soul feel happy? So I thought a lot about what brought me joy. I actually started saying, "Good morning, Joe. I love you." I'd put my hand on my heart and close my eyes and do this technique that I learned from an author. I think it's Dr. Shauna White. Dr. Nasha Winters interviewed her, and she's this therapist who talks about how self-compassion and self-love is incredibly healing. When you love yourself and love others, you release chemicals that heal the body. But when you feel negative emotions, anger, bitter, resentment, guilt, it releases chemicals that create disease. And eventually it catches up. So I try to do meditations, loving kindness meditations, saying I love you to myself. I look in the mirror and say it. I feel really weird. Sometimes I've done this outside in the yard and I'm saying I love you to myself. I think the neighbors think I'm a narcissist. But
I love you, Joe. I love you. I love you too, Joe. You know, it's like, oh my gosh, she has split personality.
Exactly. It's funny because in our cul-de-sac, we've had 3 neighbors in our small cul-de-sac move. I think it has to do with me talking to myself, saying I love you. I also speak up. I say to Matt, I'm like, I'm really sorry, but I need to do this for me. I'm really tired. Can I take a nap? Can you watch Jess so I can take a nap? That is something I never did before. Yeah. In the past, if I was tired, I would just take more caffeine. I would just tell myself to like shut up, grin and bear it, and go. And I would burn the candle at both ends. So while I was very healthy with a lot of my habits, the one thing that wasn't healthy was I wasn't getting enough sleep, and I would deny myself of things that I wanted. I would feel like if I made a mistake, I needed to be punished. Or Matt would try to give me a gift, and I might have been sensitive about something with him, and he was patient as a saint as usual, and I'd be like, I'm so sorry. Can you forgive me? It's a sensitive thing, but I realized I was wrong. I would say that, and he would be like, wow, you're the best wife ever. Thank you for saying sorry. I'm like, you're thanking me? This is what I should be doing. But I just started to speak up. So a lot of it was, I'd say if I needed rest, I would take rest when I felt it. If I felt tired or like I had to push myself, I stopped. Whereas that's something I never did before. I would work out so hard. I literally thought I was going to leave the planet that day because I was going to die. I didn't even know your heart rate could get as high as I had gotten it, and things that I would ignore with myself. I did not love myself the way that I loved others. So I started the loving kindness meditations. I started doing nice things for myself. I would get a massage. Even my healing routine is really extensive. And the old me would have felt guilty. But I'd say to Matt, this is the most loving thing I can do for myself. But it's also going to love Matt and Jess for me to be healthy. And so sometimes I'll say, I don't feel like I'm in a good headspace. Can I step outside and meditate or pray, do my gratitude journal? And I speak up a lot now. And now I'm starting to see maybe a little too much. I have to make sure that I'm not saying I, but rather we. How can we as a team, so I don't run Matt over or run him into the ground? Yeah, Jess says love heals too. When she falls down and she gets a cut, we always say, I'm sorry. We validate the emotion, because I used to suppress emotions and no, I'm fine. Put dirt on it. But now it's, yeah, that seems like it would really hurt. And then we validate and we say, you're really tough and strong. How can we help you? And then we also say, love heals, and we give her a hug and we give her a kiss. And now she says love heals, because they've actually done studies where they literally would take a knife and cut somebody, and then they would expose them to a loving situation. And then they would test how long it took them to heal from the wound. Then they would cut them again and expose them to an upsetting situation. Maybe they were watching the news.
An upsetting situation like being cut?
Oh, there is that. But add on to that, and then they would be exposed to the news, and then they would time the healing. And the people that were exposed to love, and they also included laughter, basically the oxytocin type feelings, they healed exponentially faster.
Wow. So what's this quote?
Yes.
What's this magical quote of yours?
Thanks for reeling me back in.
Yeah.
This is from Dr. Bernie Siegel. He's incredible. I would say my favorite anti-cancer book is The Metabolic Approach to Cancer from Dr. Nasha Winters. Can't recommend it enough. But then the other book that really helped with love and healing and my mindset was Love, Medicine, and Miracles by Dr. Bernie Siegel. And he would work with patients and teach them how to tune into their own needs, to speak up, to love themselves. And this quote is just phenomenal. Matt was kind enough to print it so that I would remember it and say it correctly. But he says, whatever question appears, love is the answer. If you could love enough, you would be the most powerful individual that you have ever met. There is nothing that enough love cannot conquer. There is nothing that enough love cannot heal.
Powerful.
Mm-hmm.
It's good.
So
Good.
Powerful.
I like it.
That helps me fall asleep sometimes at night when the gears get going and the brain wants to go into solution mode. I'll read this or say it, meditate on it, and it's something that helped me a lot during the incredibly difficult and dark times of the hardest parts of the treatments. That was really helpful and helped me overcome fear. One of my favorite verses is perfect love casts out fear. And so I think about the love of God and how when you think about love, you can't be afraid at the same time. And when you feel fearful, healing stops and it weakens the immune system. But when you feel loving, it boosts your immune system. And so this is definitely a go-to for me.
So today we have talked about a lot. We've had 6 themes, right? We've talked about your body. We've talked about your purpose, your legacy, having faith, strong relationships, certainly marriage kind of being the focus there, and then ending with resilience. So I've taken you on a little bit of a journey here and kind of tried to connect these dots a bit. But if you're truly going to live a strong life by design, you're going to have to reflect on these different areas. And I think that these episodes have really made an impact in people. Again, they have been featured because they have been some of the most downloaded, most popular episodes over the last couple of years. And so people are tuning in and they're downloading these particular ones. So I think that I know you'll get something out of this collection of episodes. Now, I'm not giving you homework, but maybe you want to go deeper. Maybe you go and listen to each of those episodes in full, because I think that'll give you a more thorough understanding of each one. I was only, able to feature so many minutes from each one, some of the best talking points from each of those episodes, but no doubt you will get something out of each of them. And we've been so fortunate to have such wonderful guests, some that you just know the conversation's going to be powerful, and some that were just under the radar. And then you have this episode that just starts crushing. And so we're just so fortunate. I thank you for being on this journey with us. Again, if you're a new listener to the show, thank you. I know you enjoyed this one. Now you can go back and listen to some of our past episodes. There are hundreds and hundreds of episodes. Go back and listen to one a week or a couple a week. You'll get something out of it for sure. Invest in your body, invest in your mind, and invest in your spiritual health as well. Those episodes do a great job of talking to all of those three kind of main parts of our human experience: body, mind, and spirit. So thank you for joining the show, and we ask that you please share this with a friend or a family member, somebody who could benefit from any one of these individual episodes, or just this overall theme of living a stronger life. And we are so grateful for you. I'm practicing my gratitude right now by thanking you for listening and for sharing and for coming back. And we'll talk with you next time on Strong by Design. God bless you. Thank you so much for listening to the Strong by Design podcast. If you found value in today's episode, please subscribe so that more people can find out about our show. Plus, you don't want to miss any future episodes with the amazing guests and topics we have lined up for you.